Okay, there we go. So welcome everybody. You are here for from eye rolling. Oh, hi there. From eye rolling to I love you, transforming the parenting relationship. And if you're like a lot of parents I know, and the parent that I was, and sometimes still show up that way, we do things with the best of intentions, and then it doesn't work. Very often it backfires, and the relationship that we're really craving with our kids just it fizzles out, and we're confused and we're sad and we're lonely and we're wondering what happened to that kid I used to know. So, yeah, so I would just love to get started, and I'm going to put this on screen share because I do have a PowerPoint, but I will be talking much more than just what you see on the slides. So, all righty. You know what? Before I do that, how about we all just take a minute to introduce ourselves, the age of your children, or if you don't have children in that age range anymore, tell us what you're doing. And we just lost somebody. That's okay. So, Susan, why don't you start?
Actually, I have 3 young adults, so I've already raised mine, and I'm here just to support you and to sort of just see how you present and if I can help. So mine are now 25, 27, and 34.
Okay.
So I know what these women are going through, just like you.
Well, they had to be younger and sometimes miserable for us to reach that other point. And I have 2 kids who are in their 30s now. One not for too many more years. And you know what? Parenting is still difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
We all have our triggers and the things that get us going, and our worries, even at that advanced age. And yeah, can get a little messy sometimes. Right. And Cindy shared in the comments. I just have to make sure I'm talking about the right people here. Cindy shared in the comments she has a daughter who is 13. Stephanie, how about you? If you could share one way or the other, either on screen or in the chat, how old your child or children are.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. I wasn't sure. I think I was unmuted the whole time, so I apologize.
Okay.
I have a son. He's 13. I'm sorry, he's 14. And he's just coming home from basketball practice right now. So I'm like kind of hiding, because if he hears me on this call, he's gonna be like, "You are so weird." So I'm kind of just hiding out right now. So I don't have the video. I'm just hanging out in our game room, hoping that he doesn't come down to say hello at this moment. But
it's okay. You know, I'm not sure why, and this has affected me too, why we're so afraid of what our kids think about us. Right? If he thinks you're weird, my latest response to a lot of things is, you may be right about that. And it just diffuses everything. All right, so we've got a 14-year-old, a 13-year-old, young adults, and how about you, Gina?
I have a 16-year-old daughter.
Okay. Oh, so all of you with singles. Yes?
Stephanie has more. She has 2 more kids.
Oh,
Her and I are
Stephanie.
friends. So her and I are like best friends. So she has 2 more kids. She has young kids.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's never too early to start. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. Let's get started. Let's do the screen share, and we'll go right to the PowerPoint. Okay. Okay. All right, so you know why you're here. At least you know what this workshop is titled. Whether you know exactly why you're here is another story. So the real basics about me: I'm the mother of 2 adult children. As I told you, I've been married actually now more than 40 years. I used to be a middle school teacher, and I was desperate to get out, not because it was middle school, but it just wasn't the right place for me. And I found coaching, and based on my own personal experiences, I knew that I was going to coach parents and parents of teenagers, because I've been there and then some. And I'm always happy to talk to people afterwards if you have any questions about my experiences and what we did about it. So, something in here may resonate with all of you at one moment or another, or many moments. We get the eye rolling, we get the I can't hear you, we get the talk to the hand, we get the turned back or walking out of a room. And not only is it that our children aren't connecting with us, but we feel that it's rude and disrespectful for them to talk to us and act that way with us. So yeah, our goal is to have fewer of these moments, because they will happen regardless of how good your relationship is. Moments like these will happen. We're human. So it's very painful, because they used to tell you everything, or most children do when they're very young. And now you're getting the one-word answers. They've got attitude this big, the eye rolling. And I dare say that sometimes we are the ones with the attitude, the eye rolling, and the one-word answers, right? We are just as frustrated as they are. And I know there was a time when I would have given anything for my son to come to me and just say, can I talk to you? And I didn't have to have my guard up about what was going on and all the trouble he was getting into. But just a plain old, I want to be near you. I want to tell you something. It took a long time till we got back to that place. Let's see. All right. Another reason that this is really painful is because our kids are having these big conflicts. They're growing up, hopefully maturing, and they have a conflict between needing you and needing to separate from you. And that's real, because they are supposed to separate. They are supposed to push the boundaries. And they're also trying to establish or discover, who am I? Where am I going? And at the same time as that, they want to fit in. So they have a conflict between needing us and needing to break away. And then they have their outside persona that wants acceptance, but also wants to be different and unique. What makes me a unique person with some special characteristics about me? Well, it makes it awfully hard to fit in when you're trying to differentiate yourself from other people. All right. But you do worry about them. That's our job from the minute they're born, or maybe even before. It is their job to separate, but that doesn't mean that you disappear from their life. I've talked to a lot of parents who say, well, if I step back and I let go, then I have no input. There's this tendency to see things as all or nothing and black and white. But there is a middle ground, and we are looking for that middle ground. And so they turn to their friends, to their peers for help. They shut us out, and we are the people who care about them the most. Their friends may love them, but they don't have quite as much invested in them as we do, and in their welfare. All right. And we are a small group. So if at any time you have something you want to share, I have a question, you're confused about something that I said, or you don't agree with something that I said, please just, I'll see your box light up because your volume is on, and we'll take it from there. All right. And again, it feels like chaos on some days, and that you can't do or say anything right. And I am here to tell you, because I have lived it, it doesn't have to be this way. And you can find that middle ground, and you can have some peace and really unadulterated joy with your kids, more of it. We tend to see our children, if things are not going well, and this is how it was for me, so I'm not going to generalize to all of you, but when we're aggravated, we tend to see our children as the problems that they present, as the difficult behaviors that we see. But there's so much more to that, to them. And we lose sight of that. And they lose sight of our love for them as well when they just feel like their lives are being controlled. They feel powerless and we feel powerless. Interesting, all the parallels that there are for us and our children. All right, so what are we going to learn tonight? Why is it so difficult for you to hear each other and what gets in the way? There's a lot of emotional baggage that's sitting there. The exact words that you need to be a great listener. It's really a formula and you can play with it all you want, but you start with that and you go from there. And this will help you gain their trust and their desire to share with you. Um, for some, maybe that idea of sharing is something that's long gone and you would give anything for that. We're going to do an exercise to help you help your child express feelings so that they can process them instead of taking it out on you. And to take a crucial step towards getting back those conversations, like those kitchen table conversations or the ones you used to have with them at bedtime, those disappear for the most part when they hit adolescence. And I will just share that there were times that my son, however much trouble, and he was in big trouble, and our family was in chaos, but every so often there was that moment when it was like having my little child back again, and he'd say, "Mom, sing me sing me that lullaby you used to sing." And your heart just melts, you know, and you give anything to have more moments like that. And then of course they turn back into the people that they are most of the time. And then it's sad because you want more of it. All right. Any feedback, any thoughts you want to share so far? No, I see one head shaking. No. Okay. All right. Okay. So a little bit about me. You already know I'm a wife and mother. You know that I was a middle school teacher and I became a family coach. And this is long after our family recovered from all the craziness that was going on. I just want to move all of you over a little bit so I can see you there. So without going into detail, because it's not my story to tell, my son got into a lot of trouble in high school and it started in middle school and we were in denial about a lot of stuff. And the point came where we really were out of options. And that's one thing that I hope to help families with is this idea of don't wait until things have changed so much that you find you don't really have many options left. We were out of options. So we pulled him out of school. We sent him to a wilderness program for a month. And when that was over, the thing that gave me hope was when he said, "I want to be part of this family again." And I can't tell you what it was like to finally hear that after several years of crazy. All right, we have comment here. Oh my, so Cindy shared. Thank you, Cindy. I know that's not easy to talk about. My daughter has a mood disorder and has physically assaulted me. Yeah, that's rough. That is really rough. I will just come out and say though that you take what you can from tonight's presentation um, in the quiet moments to try out some of the things that you learn here tonight. That won't change her mood disorder, but it could give you some moments that matter in a good way.
Yeah, thank you. I hope so. I'm on the back porch, so she can't hear me, but
Okay.
it's really, really hard. I don't know. I have to find somewhere for her because I can't go through it anymore. It's
Mm,
really hard.
okay. All right. Well, again, I'm not the the best resource for that, but we can certainly talk another time if that would be helpful for you.
Sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, so at any rate, he came home. Then we lined up this boarding school for him, which isn't your typical boarding school. It's called Hyde School, like Jekyll and Hyde, which is kind of the experience that some of us had. We started with a Dr. Jekyll who turned into a Mr. Hyde, and then little by little started coming back to himself, for which I am eternally grateful. And what I learned at high school was my wake-up call. It was my opening to a different way to be a parent, a different way to be a person. I learned all about what it really means to let go, about how sharing my struggles could inspire my child, that I did way too much for him. And he took that message in. And I won't go into the whole story, but after an episode of which I am not proud at all, he said to me, you know, Mom, when you do things like that, I got involved and tried to make things easy for him in a particular situation. And he said, when you say and do things like that, I get the message that, you know, you don't believe that I can handle things. And, you know, Mom has to take care of it for me. And boy, if that didn't have bells and whistles going off in my head, that I unintentionally or with good intentions did absolutely the wrong thing for him. It made me feel better, but it wasn't a good thing for him. So there's been a lot of learning along the way. And yeah, it'll come out in other places here. And again, if you have any questions, please just let me know. Just pop right in there. All right. So sometimes you feel like you can't do anything right with your kid. And yes, it's good to read books. It's good to listen to speakers and to take advice from friends and family. And sometimes nothing changes when you do all that. So I think the biggest thing that I've learned over time is, especially with his experience at that boarding school, was if nothing changes at home, then not much changes. You can send your child to wilderness, to therapy, to outpatient, to wherever, to boarding school, and they can make progress there. But if they come back and everything is as it was, then I won't say it was a waste of time, but it wasn't the best use of time, that they come home to the same place. And so our interactions don't change much because we are the same people that we were. And if we want to make progress, we have to do some changing. And the other thing, and this phrase, it's really surprised me how a couple of my clients have said they heard this and everything changed for them. And I'm going to share that with you right now. It's too important not to. Our job is to bring out the best in our children, not to be trying to prevent the worst. I'm going to say that again. Our job is to bring out the best in our children rather than trying to prevent the worst. That's what I was doing. I was trying to prevent the worst from happening for him. And the thing is, we think we're going to help them and we think we're going to fix them and make everything right. But we have no control over that. And the more we focus on what's going wrong, the more we stay in that attitude of, I have to keep fixing this kid. So do what you will with that. But that to me may be the most important gift that I gave you tonight. All right. And if you have ever thought that you should know how to do all these things, or that everybody else knows how to do it and it's all figured out, just stop right now, because that's not true. And and Gina's smiling because everybody's got something that they're struggling with. We were not prepared to be parents. You need more preparation to get a driver's license than you do to be a parent. And nobody has it figured out. Hello, Adina. Hi, Tunj. And when, I just lost my train of thought. Hang on. Nobody has it figured out. It's gone. It just dribbled out. Yeah, we weren't raised to do this. We only know how our parents raised us. And very often we are a reaction to how we were parented. And we say, oh, I'll never do this to my kids because we hated when our parents did it to us. Or that was really great, so I'll do that. Where's our own vision of parenting? Most of us don't have one until we get into a situation that's really difficult and we're thinking, oh my God, what have I done? I've got to do something different now. What if we could do a little preventive work right here, right now? And I know exactly how you feel because I thought I was being a good mother. And I was with what I knew. I did the best with what I had, as our parents did for us. Okay. And we'll get through to the skills pretty soon. What you do now absolutely makes a difference. And I stress the word now because now is the best time to start. There's no right time, there's no better time waiting for conditions to change. So it makes a difference because without the connection that you're trying to build, your kids feel lost and insecure. They really, as teenagers, are massively confused, even on a good day. They are more easily drawn to self-harming behaviors, including drugs, alcohol, cutting. These are coping skills. They're not healthy ones, but they are coping skills. So without the connection, they're looking for something to tamp down all those difficult feelings, whether it's their feelings about family or about themselves. And they start to hide their problems. And when people start hiding their problems and their feelings, they become isolated. And when they become isolated, they become depressed. And when they become depressed, they look for something to help them out of it, right? I'm not saying your kids are going to go there. I'm just saying that this happens to enough kids that we worry about it. So we're hoping that our children will learn to share feelings, develop problem-solving skills, and take care of themselves, and maybe even say, Mom, I love you. And then your heart melts. Okay. That they'll be open to hearing your advice and take you seriously because you will have a different way of presenting your opinion and presenting your thoughts and feelings. And you, on the flip side, become more confident and calm. And you know that even if you're not sure you're doing right by your child, you're doing better by your child. We don't talk in absolutes here because it never is black and white, but making that 1 or 2% progress each time, that's huge progress. And we should recognize it for what it is. Okay, questions, comments, personal stories, anything? Okay, I can't see most of you, so I can't see if you're nodding your head or not. All right. So the 5 steps, and you can feel free to take screenshots of anything that you see, but you're also going to have a replay of this. So you don't have to rush to get your hands on this. You're going to understand why you yell at each other instead of talking to each other. Become aware of the buttons and the triggers that are pushed over and over and over again and that keep you in a state of mind that is not a healthy, productive one. Going to recognize what your child really needs from you, and P.S. it's not advice or lecturing or nagging or fixing problems for them. That's not what they need from you. We're going to create a tool that helps your child deal with emotions instead of acting out and taking it out on you. And yes, Cindy, I understand we've got a little bit of a caveat there. And learn the words to help you become the person they want to confide in and connect with. And there's that word, connect. We want a connection with them that, we'll always have an unbreakable bond with our children, but that's different from connection, right? There's always a parent-child bond, but the connection is the special piece. All right. Okay, so here's where I would like to get feedback from as many of you as possible. So please be ready to either unmute yourselves. I prefer that it's unmute if you can. If you can't because your kids are nearby, then put something in the chat, please. So first question for you. What's so important about having a relationship with your child? Why does it matter?
I know for me, I didn't really have a relationship with my mom until like the past couple years, and I'm 40, so it was a long road with her. You know, and I want to have a relationship with my daughter, you know.
For sure. Thank you. Who else? Here's where I rely on you all.
Whether they realize it or not, they do need you.
Ah,
They do need you, and they're scared and they need somebody in their corner that they can trust will listen and hug them and be there always.
I like that. You know, we take for granted that expression, someone in my corner. It sounds very trite, but it's a very powerful statement. They need someone in their corner, and they have to let you in order to be in their corner, right? So that's what we're going for here. Last call on this question. Okay,
I think,
go ahead.
oh, thanks. I think for me, it's just, I just want him to know that he always has me no matter what. I feel like I don't have many people in my life I can turn to no matter what. I do have a few, thank God, but um none of those people are family. So I think that I just always want to be that person for my kid.
Okay, thank you. Oh, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. All right, and let me just double check. I don't see anything about the chat. Okay, something just came into the chat. Oh, Cindy's answering the next question. Okay, what is your role as a parent? To be a friend, a guide, or both? And Cindy said, I'd like to be both, but I feel like I'm more of a guide. But she doesn't listen. Okay. And you have that piece of the mood disorder there, which is definitely getting in the way. Well, let's see if there's something here that can be helpful to you. Other thoughts about this, friend, guide, or both?
I think I struggle with the friend, guide, or both. I have this like urge to want to like show him the way, but then also not be too overbearing, but also keep him accountable, but also, love and nurture him just as a person. So I really struggle with where my boundaries are and how we interact.
Good point. Very good point. So if I had to pick one, I think it's pretty obvious that I would pick guide. And the tricky part of that is, how do we guide them without doing the lecturing and the nagging and the insisting on things being our way? Because they do have to figure things out for themselves. And that's a whole other workshop about boundaries and stepping back, right? Letting go. But thank you. Yeah. And somehow our generation, well, probably more, I'm older than a lot of you on the call. So this in-between generation that some of you are part of, the idea of being your child's friend, I'm not sure where that came from, because I dare say that most of us did not grow up with parents who cared about being our friend. You know, they had a job to raise us, and yes, there was love. Hopefully there was love along the way, but being our friend, So, okay. And then this idea about let me just move the meeting chat a bit. I don't know if you could see, you probably couldn't see that. So having this relationship, being a guide, and once in a while a friend, and that builds the trust factor. If we're busy, somebody's upside down. If we are busy trying to be the fixers, then the kids, like my son, get the message. If mom and dad don't believe in me, then I guess I really can't handle this myself. And so then we have children who become, and I'm not laying all of this at the feet of parents, okay? But this is a parent's piece in it. We have children who become apathetic and then motivated, and they kind of give up and say, well, why bother? It's never good enough. They always want to change it. They don't see me for who I am. And so then the trust factor there kind of gets sometimes lost. All right, thank you for all of that. Now, isn't that a lovely picture? I bet they had fun making that one. Why is it so hard for you and your kids to hear each other? What is getting in the way? And you can say all you want that your kid has an attitude and that's getting in the way, but what's going on for you that it's hard for you to just listen and take it in without going into micromanaging?
As a parent who's come out of it, is it our ego? Maybe
Okay,
our ego and wanting to be right and knowing it all, and they don't.
there you go. That's a big part of it. So ego, being right. I have experience, you don't. Why don't you learn from my experience and all that? Yeah.
My
Is
husband is
your husband
pointing
too?
out, yeah, my husband is pointing out to me with the finger, you like me. I'm I'm also I'm trying to be very strict because I want things to be right, and maybe I'm impatient also. I can't wait for things to be done the correct way. Um, and it's very difficult for our child to listen. I mean, also our child is a teen now. He turned 14, so it's not the easiest age.
Yeah.
Additionally, and being on a spectrum is also not
Mhm.
easy. But and that makes it also easy for us parents to hear what the child is basically saying, right? I mean, there's an amazing book that I was reading, The Art of Listening. It's called The Art of Listening.
Okay.
And it actually really points out to the question that you were asking here. And, it's very, it is important to listen to the child, right? But sometimes it's not always possible.
Well,
So
and
things, we're also always in a rush. We are all in a rush, aren't we?
Mhm,
Like we have to go and get our child to soccer. We have to go and get our child to this and that class, right? So everything has to be correct in
mhm.
order um to make things right and be on time. And this everything plays a game here, I guess, right? I don't know how all the other parents here feel, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts, and yeah, yeah. And I'm guessing that for a lot of us, if not all of us, how many parents sat down and said, "Hi, honey, I really want to hear your thoughts on this." What? You're kidding. I would have, fallen over and died if my parents had said that to me. And my parents were good people, and I didn't have a bad relationship with them. They were good, they were kind, but that never would have happened. So the idea that we're going to stop being the protectors and teachers for a moment and hear them out, that ties into the impatience and the rushing around. Like, well, I don't have time for this. Here's the problem. This is what we have to fix.
It's a time issue. A lot of things are time issues. Like I have an example actually. So yesterday night, our son wanted to show us something that he has seen on the web.
Mhm.
So he showed it to us, and we're like, you just came home from swimming, he just took a shower, and it's actually really bad time. It was 9 p.m. and usually he goes to bed at 8:30. So, and I'm like, okay, let me do this different. So I listened to what he said. We sat on the sofa. We had our heads together. He was showing me what he wanted to show me. I said, okay, okay. And I asked him a couple of questions to it. And I think the more I was interested in what he was interested, the more he gained trust.
Yeah.
The more he gained the trust and also being close, being close. That
And
was one example. And then we went upstairs and he wanted to continue. And I said, no, you have to go to sleep now. It's actually really bad time. You're past bedtime whatsoever. And so we were laying there in his bed, still watching, like, okay, 5 more minutes, and then you can show me. And then he still wanted to continue. I think we have a boundary issue here and a timing issue.
mhm.
We have to set the boundaries really clear. And in addition, yeah, we have to set the boundaries. I think that's really key. And then listen what the child says. That's a good thing. It worked for like a couple minutes, but then I had a time issue, because he needed to go to bed, and I knew he was not going to get up this morning, which really happened. He couldn't get up. The bus was honking in front of the door. All the neighbors looked out, like it's a continuous thing.
Yeah. And I dare say that it's the end of the day for you, and you just want some time to unwind. And as much as you want to be there with him, I'm guessing, as much as you want to be there with him, it's like, okay, I want this day to be over. You just came, I know you work full time, and it's a lot. It's really a lot to handle. Would you all like to hear just a tiny piece of what setting a boundary looks like in a situation like that? Would that be helpful? Boundary setting script? Okay. So,
Yes.
yes. So, what you do when you're setting a boundary is you stick to facts. That is probably the most important thing you can do, is stick to the facts so you're not hijacked by your emotions. And you can stay on topic without being distracted or anything. So in a situation like that, you have the history of that now. So you refer back to it. Honey, I noticed the other night I was having such a great time with you. We were on the couch. You were showing me something. We had our heads together. Boy, that really felt good, right? I mean, you lighten it up a little bit. See, the thing is that what also happened was that I found myself, and you can be perfectly honest about what you're feeling. And I'm making this up on your behalf, Adina. Um, you know, I I was starting
Yes.
to feel a little bit impatient because me, I'm always worried about time and getting up the next morning and everything. So I love moments like that. Still, I don't like the word but. Still, we need to have an idea of how long that can go on because it affects other things that night or the next morning. Can we agree on that? And if you throw in the can we agree on that, you're probably going to get more cooperation on it and more acceptance than you would if you just said, from now on, we're only going to do that for 15 minutes. Right? Or, I'll give you a little signal that it's the end of the day for me too, and I'm kind of zoning out. So I'll let you know when that's happening. If you present all that ahead of time in a way, again, that is strictly factual, there's no finger pointing, there's no judgment, none of that. And it works. And it works to the extent that your kids will let you. I mean, some kids are just going to, if they're really immature, they're going to go, what do you mean we're going to stop? No, they'll argue with you. but it's okay because you're setting the stage for a new way to connect with them. That's what this is all about. It's of setting the stage, tilling the soil so that the seed of connection can grow. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. Hope that helps. Okay. So we got a few really good answers here.
you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Anyone else? Okay. So we had some great answers here. We had the ego. We're tied into being right, being strict and impatient. So we just want to get things over with. We're always in a rush. There are time issues. Love it. Okay. So I wrote a little summary of things just to condense it, some of the things that I had thought of. So we covered this. I've been there, done that, and I know better. Why don't you listen to me? Why don't you take notes? This is really important. Take notes. You want to control the results, which you can't do. And the sooner we accept what we can control and what we're powerless over, the easier things will get, actually. We're also afraid that they're going to make mistakes, so we just have to jump in. Just cut them off. We have an issue to deal with, and we've got to get it done. And finally, it's really hard to see them unhappy. Who doesn't want to just throw their arms around their child and say, it'll be okay, honey, it'll be okay. I can help you with this, right? Maybe they don't want your help. Maybe they just want to talk. Okay, I'm going to go through this one very quickly, but we're going to figure out what a good listener does. First, we're going to figure out what doesn't work, the denial of feelings. So let's say you've had a hard day at work, your boss gave you a rough time about something, and you're feeling really crappy about yourself. And what happened? Denial of feelings is, let's say somebody says to you, oh, it's not such a big deal. You got to let it go. Hello? It was a big deal for me. What do you mean it's not a big deal and I should just let it go? This was painful for me. X, not going to tell you too much next time. Then there's the philosophical response, which is, life is like that. People are going to get in your face and make you feel awful. Just, you just have to go with the flow. Another X, that's not what I needed from you. You're still denying my feelings. You've told me I should just get over it. And the advice giver, who's ever said, if I were in your shoes, here's what I'd do? Oops. That's not what I wanted after a long day. What I wanted after a long day was somebody who would just listen and be empathetic. You don't have to agree with what I did or said. I just need to unburden myself. Because I know for me, once I speak it, it takes away some of the intensity of the emotion. And it's scientifically proving that your body absorbs all your emotions right down to a cellular level, right? So empathetic listening works. So the person who says, sounds like you had a really rough day, and then says nothing. It's like, okay, yeah, that's what I needed. Someone to validate that this was a tough day. Right? And there's a great quote that goes with this adorable picture. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we speak. Gotta love it. And I see a comment from Cindy who said, my mother gives advice, which I don't agree with, and isn't very empathetic. So that's 2. That's the double whammy. It's the giving advice and the lack of compassion, I guess, just for the fact that everybody has feelings, period. Kids, children, aging people, everybody. Okay. So we're going to do an exercise now. And again, this is the kind of thing where I'm hoping you will just call out your answers because I'm looking for 1-word answers. The language of emotions. Very often our kids are limited to things like angry, happy, sad, mad, and glad. And those are pretty generic words to describe what we're feeling. We can help them express their feelings better by expanding this vocabulary, by using it with them to show that we understand or believe that we understand how they're feeling about things. So I'm going to ask that we all just call out a word or two that describes, and now of course we're looking for the difficult emotions or the quote negative emotions, but I don't think there is such a thing as a negative emotion. We feel what we feel, and some of them feel good and some of them don't. So, but as far as it being negative, nah, you just have feelings. Okay, so I can start it off with overwhelmed, feeling overwhelmed, or feeling somebody in yesterday's had a couple of really strong ones, like abandoned.
Frustrated.
Frustrated, thank you.
Lonely.
Lonely, excellent.
Bored.
Bored. Yeah. Imagine yourself where you're,
Disappointed.
I'm sorry?
Disappointed.
Disappointed, great.
You say it, but like feeling it's not fair.
Okay.
Sad.
It's not fair. Sad. What are other words for angry or abandoned or well, I'll add hopeless. Yeah. Who had one?
What else?
That's interesting. Those words.
Unlovable.
Ooh, unlovable. Okay. We got lonely. Let's just go over the list. We'll add 3 more and then we'll be done. Overwhelmed, abandoned, frustrated, lonely, bored, disappointed, it's not fair, sad, hopeless, and unlovable. Desperate, I'll add. Powerless.
Stressed.
Excuse me?
Stressed.
Stress, yes.
Yeah.
All right,
Super.
so we have a pretty good list here, which will take us into the exercises of practicing the skills. And the skills they're simple, but they're not easy to do because we are people. Our emotions get in the way. We have to talk or we feel stifled. All right, here we go. First skill. I don't know if any of you printed out the worksheet, but there is room for all this stuff on the worksheet. Okay, so the first skill, the language of empathy. The first thing you have to do is accept the expression of feelings. You don't have to agree with what your child or your spouse or your coworker is feeling. It doesn't have to make sense to you. But the person who's a really good listener will just let you know that they're still listening, and they throw in an, oh, I see. Oh, they're just fillers. But when I'm talking for a long time, or a parent is talking to me and they keep going, that's comforting to them because then they know that I'm listening and paying attention. Otherwise, they're wondering, is she still listening? Right? Less is more. You say less, and you can write this down if you want. You say less so your child can say more. Does this guarantee that your child will say more? Absolutely not. They may just go, yeah, okay. Now what? All right. You're setting the stage. You're planting this, you're tilling the soil to plant the seed and watch it grow. You repeat these behaviors so your child knows it's safe to talk to you. Okay, the next one, and we spent months on this in coach training. It always comes up. Acknowledge your child's feelings. Remember we talked about denial of feelings? Well, now we're talking about acknowledging. This is the opposite of it. 3 introductory phrases, and you can modify them any way you want. But there's nothing in these phrases that's about you. It's all about your child. Take note of that. So, you sound frustrated or embarrassed. I'm hearing that it was a really overwhelming experience. I'm hearing that you're so upset. Well, duh, Ma. Well, I just want you to know I'm listening. Right? Or that must have been, oh my gosh, that must have been exhausting. Or that experience must have been so annoying. Or the teacher was picking on me. That must have been hard for you. Anything, just fill in the blank and use some of the words. And I will send you a feelings chart. It's called the intensity of feelings. So it has different categories of feelings. And as they get stronger and stronger, we have different words to describe them. All right, so take note of that. You sound, I'm hearing that, and that must have been. Okay, questions, anything? All right, moving along. Second part of this, repeat, rephrase, or reflect. You want to make sure your kid knows that you've listened and that you understand. So if I understood correctly, you said, he said, she said, you go through the little chronology of what happened and keep it short. Don't recount the entire story, just a brief synopsis. Or I want to be sure I understand what happened. And you say, did I get that right? Oh my gosh, when you ask your child, did I get that right? It's like, she cares. He cares about whether they understood. They don't get that kind of acknowledgement from us. And you lose nothing in your authority as a parent, but you have everything to gain. All right, nothing in the comments. Okay. All right, so repeat, rephrase, or reflect and keep it short. The less, the better. It's like you're checking in. I've been listening. I want to know if I understood the whole thing. There's a book, it's very old, relatively speaking. It's got to be 35 years old by now, How to Talk So Kids Will Listen. And the authors updated it for How to Talk So Teens Will Listen. And here's
I
what they
have
said.
it. I
You
have that
do?
book. Yes,
Isn't it great?
but I have the newer version.
I didn't know there was a newer version.
Yeah. Let me
Okay.
go and get it quickly.
Because the women who wrote the book, I question if they're even still alive anymore. They were older when they wrote this book. At any rate, the quote that stood out for me, which applies here, is, children let go of negative feelings when they are heard. Once they let go of negative feelings, they are able to think constructively. That applies to all of us. What we need, our children need. Simple, simple, simple. Susan, don't worry, because you're going to be able to, fast forward through the recording if you don't get it all down, or take a screenshot. All right. Now, we are going to look at some scenarios, and I'm going to ask you to just very quickly think. You don't need great, well-constructed answers, okay? Using what you just learned about acknowledging, reflecting, validating, boy, I want to make sure I understand, that kind of thing. But mostly the acknowledging skill. That sounds, you look, you sound, that must have been. Let's look at the scenarios and whoops. Okay. So if you, and I know I'm rushing through this, but we only have 15 minutes left. So if you look at the statement, your child comes to you and says, my boyfriend, my girlfriend broke up with me. What is your gut instinct to say? Let's have it, Gina.
He's a loser anyway.
There you go. He's a loser. What else? This is the fun part, right? And it's interesting how quickly those answers come up. What else might you say when your kid says, "My other broke up with me"?
Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. I
Yeah.
remember what that feels like.
Yeah, Mom, I don't care what you think. You know what it was like for you. I'm in pain right now. Right? Or you're too good for him. There'll be somebody else. You'll get over this, blah, blah, blah. What can you say now instead when your kid says, "My significant other broke up with me"? Remember, it's all about your child. You what? You. Let me go back to that screen, okay? Let's see. There we go. This is just for practice. Come on, all of you. Let's say one person, just come up with an answer and speak the whole sentence out loud.
You sound really upset.
You sound really upset. Yeah.
I'm hearing that. Is that what I'm supposed to do?
No,
hearing-
okay. No, I'd like to get a little more specific than upset.
Okay.
That's all. So you sound really devastated.
Mm-hmm. That'd be a better word, yeah.
You sound devastated. That's why I'm going to give you that list, that intensity of feelings charts, because it's very helpful for this. All right. That breakup, and when that happened, that must have been really overwhelming. What a stressful situation that was, right? Disappointing, whatever you choose. Okay.
Surprising.
Yeah. Okay. The teacher was picking on me today. What's our first response? I know what my parents' first response would have been. What did you do? But I was
I'm
a good
sorry
girl.
to hear that.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, what else might you say to your kid when they tell you the old response? Cindy?
Why do you think they did that?
Why do you think they did that? Yep. Okay. So now instead you could say to your child, what? You sound, I'm hearing that, or that must have been. What word would you plug in there?
That must have been what, embarrassing or uncomfortable for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was thinking embarrassing. Yep. Yep. Okay.
I wouldn't have liked that either.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's not about you. Right?
True.
Right. As soon as we turn the attention to ourselves, and I know I'm being really fussy here. I know that. But in order to learn this skill, try to stick to the guidelines of it. Right? Okay. My report is due tomorrow and I didn't start. Oh, I have to fix that. And I didn't start yet. Old response? Come on.
Gosh, why did you stay up so late, not get this done? Or,
Yeah.
I told you so.
Thank you. Okay, Mom, you feel better now? You said, yeah, you said I told you so? Okay. All right, now what can you say?
You sound nervous about that.
Okay. You sound nervous, must be stressful. Yeah. Whoops. And let's just skip to I stink at basketball.
Don't. You're really good.
No, you're really good, honey. Well, you didn't, in the back of their mind, they're thinking, but you didn't see how I screwed up. Or you didn't see me at practice today when I really messed up and the coach was on my case about it. Right? Their thinking is very black and white. So
Can we ask them for help? Can we say, do you want to practice more with? We can go outside and practice every day for an hour, or
not yet. Not yet. Right? You give them the moment to sit with the feelings and just pour that piece out. The time for the problem solving is a little bit later. You can come back later and say, wow, you were really upset about that. Do you want to figure out what to do about that, or you want to wait? It's like giving them the choice. Do you want the blue socks or the green socks? But putting the solution or the problem solving together with that is not as effective. It's going to kind of negate the good thing that you did.
so what about if we're asking why? Why do you think you stink at basketball? Can we say,
Because they don't want to analyze in that moment.
Mhm.
Right? It's like if you came home from work and shared that you had that bad day and your husband or your friend said to you, well, what do you think that was all about? I don't know. It just felt really crappy. Right? The person is still a lot of people are still in their feelings. And you can always return to the analysis part of it later. You know, let that moment just have its moment. Just let it. That's my guidance. Yeah, try it out and see what works better. Right? Okay. I'm glad that you asked the questions. Anybody else with questions before we start wrapping this up? Story to share.
I have the books here that I wanted to show you guys.
Let's see the cover.
So I have this.
Yeah.
Is this from?
Faber and Maislish, yeah.
That's the book, right?
Yeah.
And I have the other book here. The Lost Art of Listening.
Oh, that. Okay, The Art of Listening. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
The Lost Art. It's actually The Lost Art of Listening. I'm sorry.
Lost Art of Listening.
Lost Art of Listening. Fantastic book. Fantastic book.
Okay, thank you. I just wrote that down. All right. So let's keep this moving. So before we do wrap it up, one or two of you already know that I end everything with everybody. I do put you on the spot. I'm sorry, but not sorry. Like it's just part of the learning to kind of synthesize and go, okay, what's something that I learned tonight? It could be an aha moment. It could be a quote, a phrase, anything. So who would like to go first? Don't make me call on you.
I'll go. Mine is that I need to not immediately solve any problems. Because I'm like, there's no problems, only solutions. Let's go here. You know,
okay.
Like how I am. But I need to not do that.
I appreciate the honesty. Yes, thank you. Next. How about Susan? I'm just going to go in the order that you're showing up on my screen.
Susan. Thinking about what you said about remember that we want to what did you say? It was so good too.
Bring out their best.
Huh?
Bring out their best. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Bring out their best rather than preventing the worst.
Yes. I thought that was really good.
Thank you. Good. I'm glad. Do you work with parents too, or just with the teenagers?
Well, I sort of have to work with parents a little bit in order to get to their teenagers.
Right, but you're not coaching them.
No.
Okay. Okay, I was just curious about that. Okay. Cindy. Was it Cindy or Cindy? Hang on. Cindy.
Yeah, it's Cindy. I can't decide what it is. So, I agree with both of them, don't have to solve everything right now. And what was the last, what was said?
We're supposed to bring
So-
out our children's best rather than trying to prevent the worst.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, great.
I'm pretty tired because I just had a rough night last night. It was hard to sleep. So I can't think of
It's okay. It's okay.
anything.
I appreciate that you've participated. It's all
Thank
good.
you.
Stephanie.
I liked everything that everyone else said, but I think the biggest thing for me is just being able to empathize with him rather than the I told you so, or this is why this happens or that happens. And just like kind of meeting him where he's at.
Beautiful. Okay, Idina, my dear.
Yes, so I think, I mean, I already started yesterday night, but I think I really have to listen more. I have to listen better to my child, to what he wants, what he says, and sometimes he's throwing in things that I didn't even listen to, but later it comes to me, I'm like, why did he actually say that? And he's already in bed, and then the time passed, but I cannot reverse it, right? So I need to listen better.
Well, so
Right.
here's another strategy for you. You almost always get a do-over. You know, honey, later on I was in another quiet moment. I was thinking about what you said the other night. It just like popped into my head later on. And as long as you're not saying it to him to interrogate him, like, why did you say that? Right? But you could say something. I love scripting things out, can you tell? As long as you keep it kind of neutral, like you said something which I was kind of surprised to hear it. What did you know what did you what were you thinking about when you said that? Can you explain that to me? As opposed to, that was weird. I was really concerned when you said that. Just like, I'm curious what that was about. That's all. I'm curious. What was that about? And whatever he shares, he shares. And if he doesn't, he doesn't. But if you continue to grill him about it, then he's going to back off and say, well, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Mind your own business. Right?
That's what I'm getting sometimes.
Okay. All right. So I am going to send you something that has been around for a while, but it's pretty darn good, if I do say so myself. It's a communication guide I wrote a while ago called 5 Powerful Steps to Get Your Team to Talk. And it not only tells you what you can do, but also gives you some little mini scripts like I gave you here tonight. So that should be helpful for you. And because you showed up, other people, there are a lot of, and I'm not bad mouthing so much because people have reasons that they don't come to these programs, but you made it your business to be here. And I recognize that. So to say thank you for that and to kind of keep you moving on whatever momentum you get from tonight, I'm offering you a 30-minute complimentary call with me where you can bring whatever concerns you have. We got to keep it, kind of narrow because it's only 30 minutes. And we can get started with understanding what the real problem is, with digging down a little bit and talking about steps you can take to improve it. So, and I'll also share this with you in the next email with everything else. When you're ready to schedule, you go to this link, which again, I'll send you a live link, just so you know you're going to be asked to complete a questionnaire beforehand. So I get some background information ahead of time and we don't have to, and give me as much detail as you want. I don't mind reading. In fact, I enjoy it. And once you complete that, then your appointment time will be confirmed with me. Now, here's the deadlines you should be aware of. The actual scheduling the appointment, well, we're a day later, so the 28th is Saturday. We'll say for you, because I did this yesterday, we'll say for you the deadline is Sunday to actually log in and schedule the appointment. And then the call itself needs to take place by October 16th. So that gives you 2.5 to 3 weeks to actually have the call with me. And I really encourage you to take advantage of this. It doesn't come around that often. And as I said, I want to help you continue that momentum and, you know, kind of reward you and say, you know what, you care. It shows that you care, and let's move you along and get some, you know, increasingly better results. All right. So that's it, my friends. This was lovely. It was good to meet you. If I met you before and I forgot, I apologize. Gina, were you on
Thank you.
were you on a previous one? Because there were several people named Ritter who signed up for one months ago.
Yeah, it would have been my sister.
Okay.
I think I want to say maybe in the winter. I think it was Boundaries.
Yeah, there was something.
Yeah,
back then. Yep.
it was a while ago. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
What's your sister's name?
April.
April, and then there's a Donna Ritter who came to one. So I'm always confused by your name.
Oh.
Too many to keep track of. And same to you, Susan. Sorry that I forgot, but I won't forget now. All right,
Can I say
everybody.
something real quick though?
What?
As a mom of older, now young adults, I just want to say that what you're doing is extremely valuable. And, you know, you guys you're in the thick of it right now, but we don't realize how little time we have when they're at home and then they're gone. And so you're taking action here right now just by being here and starting to learn, which so many people don't. They just let it go and think they can't do anything. So you can connect with your
Oh,
kids
thank
again.
you.
So
Thank you.
I think Fern's from what I've seen tonight, I'm very impressed with the way you present and yeah. So
Well, my husband and I, we already had a couple sessions with Fern, and I highly recommend her.
Oh, thank you, Dina.
I've never worked with anybody that is so passionate and knows, you know, the drills and the tricks and the right wordings, you know.
Yeah.
It's impeccable how Fern goes into the topic and suits your needs also, you know. So I highly recommend her. I love
That was
her.
unsolicited, but thank you so very much.
Sorry, I have to say. Sorry.
All right, we're a couple minutes over. Thank you for sticking it out and staying for the whole thing. I will send you the link to the replay probably tomorrow. Link to the replay, the 5 powerful steps to get your teen to talk, the intensity of feelings chart, and the link to the discovery call. I think that's enough for now, right? Okay, everybody, have
Thank
a
you.
wonderful night. Thank you, and let's do this again.
Yes.
Okay, bye.
Bye, Fern. Don't say hi.
Bye.
Bye, Fern.
Good night, Tunj.
Bye.
And end.